UFC Sao Paulo, we're looking at Draftkings final picks, everything you need to be successful on this week's slate. Let's make some money this week. Now, before we get into the value plays, we need to address the change that has come to the card since the predictions video. Elves Brenner stays on the card. He was supposed to fight Esteban Ribovics, a fight that I was excited for. A lot of people were excited for. The fight's off, but we still have a banger on our hands. He's welcoming Kenan Krasuski to the UFC. Krasuski just fought on Contender Series, looked great. Now, this fight no longer is going to be happening at lightweight. It's going to be at a catchweight, which makes sense because this guy's stepping in on short notice and he's huge for the weight class. And he brings a fun style that I think is going to give Elves Brenner trouble early in this fight. What I worry about is the gas tank later on. It's a big spot, making your debut on short notice, having to make weight. I know it's not full making weight, but he's still making weight. He's in a tough spot in his debut because he's fighting Elves Brenner in this environment. You got to think Elves Brenner is an absolute dog. We learned that last time out. Guram Kututaladze was lighting him up. He was a huge favorite in that fight, and it looked like all hope was lost, and then he comes back. Kututaladze fades, he puts it on him, and he finishes the fight. Now, if Guram doesn't fade in that fight, he wins it easily. And when you look back at his fight against Zubair Tukhugov, he lost that fight. It was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen. Go to something like MMA decisions, not one media member scored it for Elves Brenner. Come on. So while this may seem like harsh critique for the man that's coming off of one of the craziest wins of the year, I don't have a whole lot of faith in Elves Brenner. But in this matchup, it's hard not to because of the situation. I actually liked Ribovics to get it done this week, but give me Elves Brenner. Give me the guy who's coming in on the full camp. Give me the guy who knew he was going to be fighting this week. Give me Elves Brenner to win this fight by decision. Now we can get into the value plays that you'll build your lineups with. These are plays at 8,000 and below, essentially the underdogs that you're going to need to make your lineups work. You can't play only favorites, although we would all do it if we could, so we need some of these underdog pieces, and I have a few for you this week. But before we look at the first value play of the week, like the video, subscribe to the channel, get it out of the way now. Get the like, the sub, the comment out of the way now. Those little bits of engagement really help the algorithm with the channel. It pushes it out to more people. Oscar gets dinner. Everybody wins. And the first value play of the week has to be the black belt hunter. I love Rodolfo Vieira at this price. I'm surprised that he's not the favorite here. By the time fight time rolls around, he may flip to the favorite based on what I saw earlier in the week, but I believe that Rodolfo Vieira should be the side that you land on this week. And the reason why I say that is because he's got the grappling upside. If you watch the predictions video earlier in the week, we talked about how Armen Petrosyan has gotten taken down in almost every UFC fight. He has a 36% takedown defense, and against a guy like this who's going to take you down, all of that does not bode well for Petrosyan in this fight. And on top of that, when you look at this from a DraftKings scoring perspective, at 7,900, you don't need him to absolutely smash, but you look at the fights that he's won in the UFC. 91 points last time out against Cody Brundage, 84 points in his win prior to that, and when he came into the UFC, he scored 106 and 106 in back-to-back fights. So when you look at the fact that he's scoring 97 points on average in fights that he's winning, this guy's going to get taken down, giving up 5 DraftKings points each time, and the fact that he has a 100% finish rate in the UFC, all by way of submission, he could score you a lot of points this week on DraftKings. I like the matchup. I like the price. He's probably going to be popular, but I still like Rodolfo Vieira at 7,900. Our next value play is $7,800 Angela Hill, and I did say earlier in the week that I do like Angela Hill. She was my underdog play, and I thought that was going to be unpopular. I found out that is not unpopular at all. A lot of people are seeing the same things that I'm seeing. They see Angela Hill as the more well-rounded fighter with better experience, should be able to outlast D. Gomes, to get takedowns in this fight, win a decision. And from a DraftKings perspective, we always like when underdogs can win. We always like when underdogs have the better gas tank, but here's how I feel about this fight more than anything. This is a principle that we talk about in the DFS strategy guide, which you can find on kunithmma.com, linked in the description. Typically, when you have a card, it's easy to recognize the fights that you need, and normally we want to zero in on one fight that we absolutely need. So if you're running multiple lineups and you want to have some allocation to one side, some allocation to the other side, that could serve you really well in the long term. To me, this fight against Denise Gomes is one of those fights, because if Angela Hill is the most popular underdog or one of the most popular underdogs of the week, then you can get some leverage going with Denise Gomes, and her win condition, her win equity is largely a first round knockout, and we know that's going to score you north of 90 DraftKings points. So when you're building your lineups this week, you want to plug in either D. Gomes or Angela Davila Hill. They're pretty close in price, so it's going to be easy to build out the rest of the lineup. That's the recipe. Now, our next value play is Caio Fernandez, because he's bringing that style that's going to be finish or bust. He's either going to pack Mark Diakiese up in the first 2 rounds, or he's going to lose a decision. That's kind of the dice roll that you're looking for when it comes to underdogs on DraftKings. Now, Mark Diakiese is the more seasoned guy, the guy we've seen more of at the highest level, and on paper it looks like he should win this fight, but I like the early storm from Caio Fernandez to get it done this week. If you get that first or second round finish, he probably comes close to breaking 100 DraftKings points down at 7,600. Excellent value. And I only have one more value play this week because it's getting pretty thin the lower that you go in the salary, and it's not Derrick Lewis, although he should always be in value play consideration. It's not the Black Beast. It's Victor Hugo fighting Daniel Marcos on short notice this week. Daniel Marcos' last fight against Davy Grant leaves a bad taste in my mouth. It feels like a guy who's not going to be able to string together a whole lot of wins in the UFC. The record is shiny at 15-0, but somebody's going to catch him soon. And Victor Hugo is a dangerous guy, and I think when Daniel Marcos is going to get matched up with guys that have this fight-ending ability that Victor Hugo does, just like how Davy Grant did, I think you're going to see a situation where he takes his time, he doesn't let his hands go, and he's going to lose on volume and be surprised when one of these decisions don't go his way. And I'm not impressed with him blowing the doors off Simon Oliveira. I don't think that Simon Oliveira is UFC caliber, so give me the new guy, give me Victor Hugo, one of the value plays of the week, and the cheapest, the lowest value play that I will be considering this week. And if you're looking for resources to give yourself an edge on the slate or just in betting in general, you can visit kunithmma.com, go up to plans, grab yourself a membership, and you'll be able to get access to the lineup optimizer so you can build as many lineups as you want. That also gives you access to my projections. I'll have my betting article on there, I'll have my DFS strategy guide article on there, and the PRP for the week, all by the time the fights roll around on Saturday. Check it out. It's an excellent way for you to not only get an edge in the competition, but to support the channel as well. So visit kunithmma.com, linked in the description, and it should be in a pinned comment if Oscar does his job. So let's go ahead and build some lineups. We'll get into the tournament lineups, but first we'll look at cash game lineups, and these are for your 50-50s, your head-to-heads, your double-ups, great ways for you to build up that bankroll. So typically when we're looking at cash games, the strategy is very simple. We want to stack a 5-round fight, stack a main event fight, any fight that we think is going to go beyond 15 minutes and that isn't going to finish. So you could come here and stack the main event, but the issue this week is that this probably doesn't last longer than 5 minutes. And if we're not getting out of the first round, the collective scoring potential isn't that great. So then what do? Well, you typically would pivot to a 3-round fight that you don't think is going to finish. Because with the way that DraftKings salary is structured, if you stack a fight, it's going to come out to $16,200 worth of salary every time. And the only time that it doesn't do that is when you have special situations where a fighter is jumping in on short notice, and we actually do have that this week. In the Elves-Brenner fight, you're not paying $16,200 for these guys, you're actually saving $300 salary with this stack. And when you're playing cash games, you want to use up all of that salary. It's not like in tournaments where you want to leave some on the table to get different. You want to use up all that salary in your cash game, so that $300 makes a huge difference. You're getting a discount on something that otherwise would have been a little bit more expensive, so you can get some leverage on the field because not many people are going to do that. So now you've got 85-25 left over, which is different than what we're normally used to working with. So now we can come here and we can then again get another cheap play. So at this point, you're looking at somebody who is probably going to go the distance, maybe doesn't win, but is going to give you 15 minutes worth of opportunity, and I think that's Vinc Pichel at 6,700. So now with over 9,100 salary left over per fighter, you can grab some of these more expensive plays like Petrino, like Fakhretdinov. You've got 9,300 left over. Give me some Gabriel Bonfim. I love this. That's your cash game recipe. Plug that into head-to-heads. Use that same kind of logic and make some adjustments. You will win. Now we can get into building some tournament lineups. These are for your GPPs, your big contests, your single entries, and there are a couple of ways for you to get different this week. Now, one of the most popular plays of the week is going to be Jailton Almeida, and it's for good reason. The man is averaging 116.5 DraftKings points. He's yet to lose in the UFC, and he has another good matchup here against Derrick Lewis. So you plug him in because he's going to get you there. Now, if you want to get different and not play Jailton Almeida, I think that's a great idea. But at the same time, this man is going to be that 115 to 120 point hammer at the end of the night who you might need in your lineups or who might knock you out of contention for first. But obviously, that's a big chunk of change. That's a lot of your salary. So you're going to have to play some dogs this week. So we'll plug in some of our value plays. Let's go with Vieira. Let's go with Hill. 82.33 left over per fighter. This is tough. It's tough because we're forced to play another underdog here. At this point, let's go with Victor Hugo just to see where it leaves us. 8,700 left over. Okay. Now you could grab another underdog here, but at this point, I might go with Elves Brenner at 8,200. 200, 9,200 left over. You can grab anybody up here. Fakhretdinov has been lighting everybody on fire. 109, 130, 130. He's averaging almost 123 DraftKings points. That's better than Jailton Almeida. But there are also some other guys on this slate who are averaging over 100 DraftKings points who are cheaper than Jailton Almeida. So let's blow this up and let's put some of the best averages in there right now. So you see Gabriel Bonfim averaging 108, 123 from Rinat Fakhretdinov, and then Vitor Petrino is averaging 109. That leaves us with 75.33 left over per fighter. That brings me to Victor Hugo. That brings me to Fernandez, and now we've got 77 left over. I would grab Krzyzewski at this point. You've spent all of the salary, but you have guys that can get you that high ceiling. You're hoping that 3 debutants come through for you, which is a scary feeling, but a lineup that's not scary probably isn't a good lineup. But it might be different enough because you avoided the 2 most popular underdogs in Vieira and Hill, and you don't have Jailton Almeida, who a lot of people are going to want to get to. I know Jailton Almeida is a destroyer and he's going to be able to take Derrick Lewis down with ease, but at the same time, you're getting just as much upside from guys like Bonfim, Fakhretdinov, and Petrino. And not only are you getting the same amount of upside, frankly, you're getting safer matchups because Derrick Lewis could put this guy out. Another expensive play that's interesting this week is Caio Borralho sitting at 9,200. After a slow DraftKings scoring start to his UFC career, he dropped a bomb of 107 points last time out against Lord Michal. He was busting him up on the feet, he was taking him down with ease, and I think he's going to have a lot of success against Magomedov this week. Let's say you plug in Borralho, and let's say you want to go with somebody like Rodrigo Nascimento, who last time against Dontel Mays went out there and dropped 100 DraftKings points. Dontel Mays is going to get taken down and submitted more likely than not, and at 8,800 he's not bad. Now that leaves 8,000 salary left over, so let's grab the chalk Vieira. Let's go down here and grab the chalk Angela Hill at 7,800. Now you're stuck playing another underdog, and here's where I probably land. It's going to get a little redundant, but you probably see me playing Victor Hugo, so I can come back up here to Vitor Petrino. Just some of these guys in this premium range at 9,000 and above, and there are a lot of fighters in this range. It typically isn't like this. Typically you might have 3 to 4, but this week we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters up in that premium range of 9,000 and above. Okay with playing people that you maybe don't want to play, maybe outside of the value plays that I named. Okay with people that you don't like actually playing. You might have to come down here and grab value plays that I didn't name. You might have to come down here and grab the Abus Magomedovs of the world. You might have to take a shot on somebody like Montserrat Ruiz with a lot of question marks around Mora. And just to give you one more look, let's say you went with Denise Gomes in your lineup. Let's say you went with somebody like Vieira, you went with Brenner, 8,500 left over. Let's go Nascimento, let's go Petrino. That leaves me with 7,700. Let's grab Fernandez and leave a little bit of salary on the table. I don't mind this lineup either. I assure you, people are going to have difficulty building lineups this week, so don't be afraid to lean into the uncertainty. Get creative, get weird, take some chances. When you press submit, this is something that I don't think enough people understand. When you press submit on your DraftKings lineup, the money is gone already. Now you can withdraw your entries if you want. That's possible if you want to do that. Most people don't do that. A lot of people don't even know you can do that. But the way you should be thinking about it is simple. Let's say you have a room full of doors and you have however many people are in your contest with you in this room, and you have to pick the right door. Now you could go to that door that a lot of people think, you know what, this door looks good, and you see thousands of people crowded around this door and everybody's trying to jam through this door. Or you can try to walk through the door that nobody else is looking at. What's on the other side of this door? It may be the treasure that everybody's looking for. It may just be a cliff that you fall off of when you open the door and walk through it. Who knows? All you know is that you're not fighting all these people to get through that door because they don't know what's on the other side of that door either. So don't be afraid to get weird. Don't be afraid to get different, especially with the pricing this tight. People are going to panic. If you've made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment something for the algorithm, and I wish you the best of luck.